So, good morning, Dolphin fans. They won. They won. They won. They won the game. They finished the game with more points than the other team, and it got better as it went. Right. What do you got to say? Good morning, Trey.
Morning. You would like to think that maybe it was just the early season jitters, getting the rust off. A lot of these guys don't play as many reps in the preseason if they know they're going to make the team.
Yeah.
So, does that sound like excuses? Yeah, but we won, so they're not excuses because we're just talking about shit that happened and we still won.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mike McDaniel in the locker room after pointed that out. He kept saying, like, this is what good teams do. Like, we didn't have our shit coming into today. It's
Right.
going to be like that for every team. What separates the good teams from the bad teams is that you find a way,
Yeah.
despite your running game not coming on, which Jacksonville was top 10 against the run last year.
Right.
Obviously, even though he still finished with 130 yards and a touchdown, including an 80-yard bomb, clearly what happened to Tyreek is going to, at the very least, distract you. You know what I mean? Like, you
Sure.
weren't in your
Sure.
normal routine going in. I think has anybody listening to this ever been pulled over on the way to work, which is literally what happened to Tyreek? Even if you didn't get to the extent that he did, the fact that you got stopped, now you have a
Yeah.
ticket that you have to pay a month later. Now you're even later than you were because you were probably speeding because you were late. So
Right.
you go into your work day
Yeah.
not the same as if it had been just a normal routine shower, shit, brush teeth. Now I'm at work. Your work day is going to be different. It just
Right.
is.
So what you're saying, if I'm reading the tea leaves here, what you're saying is that Tua did not overthrow Tyreek on that wide open touchdown. Tyreek was distracted and not running as fast as he should have.
Exactly.
Okay, there we go.
No, but just still, I mean, Calais got cuffed too. Like, all the
Yeah,
all the
right?
headlines are Tyreek was in cuffs, but they handcuffed Calais Campbell too. So like, this trickled down across the team. Like, it was a
Yeah,
distraction. If we're going to
sure.
talk about Tim Tebow being a backup quarterback being a distraction, then yeah, the cops having multiple players cuffed and face down right before a game is gonna be a distraction. Now, let's talk about I'm not gonna say you have to be a super fan to be able to work the games because you probably don't want that. That being said, should you be allowed to work the player's entrance if you don't know who Tyreek Hill is?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. We were talking about this yesterday. It's like I don't know that guy he is on a desk now. Like we said, he's on administrative duties, and I would suppose he might stay there for quite some time.
He's gonna be doing some desk pops.
Yeah, they said desk pop.
That's a real thing, right?
It's a real thing, right? Oh, that's the best movie of all time.
But yeah,
So
like again, like you don't want super fans working it because that could be the wrong. I don't want him like hounding Tyreek for an autograph on his way in, but at the
yeah,
same
yeah,
time, this
right.
actually happened in wrestling. The first place I was training at in New Orleans, we were doing an event with the NWA. They were in town, and our guy who runs the promotion, Luke Hawks, he does a lot of stuff outside of wrestling in Hollywood. Basically, if they're filming anything involving wrestling, Luke Hawks is involved as the wrestling and stunt coordinator.
Gotcha.
And they were filming Heels at the time, which was a wrestling show on Stars that had the Green Arrow in it. Anyhow, Chavo Guerrero, who was Eddie Guerrero's nephew and was a longtime wrestler in WWE, WCW on his own, was the full stunt coordinator on Heels.
Right.
And he was at the show, the NWA show that we were doing in New Orleans at the time. And one of our trainees was working the front, and it became a whole thing for like 30 minutes because he, darn youngin', wasn't around for the Attitude Era, didn't know who Chavo Guerrero was.
Oh,
And it became a thing where it was like, hey,
oh,
Jaws might not know who Chavo Guerrero is, but if you're
right.
training to be a wrestler,
Yeah,
and
you
he's one of
know.
the guys working with us for extracurricular stuff, you should probably know who
You
he
should probably know.
And it
Right.
just reminded me of that yesterday when that was going on. I was like, oh my God. That was just like when Chris, that was the kid's name. I'm going to give his full name away. That was just like when Chris didn't know who Trevor Guerrero was.
So he gets detained and he actually played, which for me, as a quick aside, I have Jalen Wallen on my fantasy team. So when you texted me that he got arrested, for about 30 seconds, I was like, this
We're
might
going to
not
lose,
be
but
the
I'm going to
worst thing
win.
in the world. This might not be the worst thing in the world. But the Waddle did well anyway. Okay, so the first half, we'll throw that entire first half into the garbage, right? And we'll just look at the second half. And the defense certainly picked it up. And the one thing I talked about in the recap yesterday was for all of the changes, it was guys that have been here that made the big plays. Holland, Cater, Agba, Phillips, right? So a lot of the guys that, have already been here were the ones making the plays. But
Holland played incredibly yesterday.
well, yeah, and that's what I was getting ready to get to. I mean, we won this game, but we were 6 inches away from the game is over. It's 24-7.
And then my fantasy running back coughed up the ball there. Now, that was fun in the chat yesterday. We were all rooting for the Dolphins to win, but we were all also rooting for our fantasy teams to win.
Right.
Everybody was so happy when the Dolphins got the ball back, and I'm like, no! Let Tank Bigsby fumble. I have him too, but he's on my bench.
Yeah. So we were that close. So, I mean, 24-7, the game's over. The way that offense was playing yesterday, game's over. Now, in terms of the defense, first half, second half, I can give it to them because, okay, getting your stuff together, etc. And it is kind of impressive that the defense got better as the game went on, considering it was 150 degrees out there. The offense, however, they won the game. They did what they needed to win the game. But it's like when you're in a marriage and like for 10 years, you've been fighting over the same freaking thing. It's the same issues. It's literally the same issues. And it all starts, in my opinion, with McDaniel and the play calling and just it's an insult to call him stubborn, to talk about the freaking bubble screens and the throws behind the line of scrimmage.
I was saying the bubble screens in particular, it's not even exaggeration. It's probably 7 or even 8 times out of 10 we can correctly predict when it's going to be a bubble screen. Not like when we just throw it out there as a jokey joke in the chat, because we'll do that almost every play, but like when we're genuinely saying it's going to be a bubble screen here, legit like 7 or 8 times out of 10, it's a bubble screen. And if our dumbasses know that, the defensive coordinators get paid millions of dollars, know that, and it's reflecting. And not going over the middle is still an issue. We have the guys, both throwing and receiving, to do it. I didn't see any issues with the line yesterday.
I mean, they weren't really opening up a lot of running holes, but Tua had enough time to do what Tua needed to do.
He had enough time to throw some stuff over the middle, for sure. Is what I was saying. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, he had all day, but it wasn't a glaring issue. It wasn't the normal stuff we complain about with the Dolphins O-line. They were fine.
Yeah, they were what we kind of expect. A lot of this stuff, when you watch the replays, like especially if it's like a missed timing and Tua was off or it was a misconnection, and you watch the replay and you look at the play design and you're like, that play is only designed like only one guy's going to get open. Like we do, sometimes we'll do these bunch formations and like those 3 guys are just decoys, and it's supposed to just be a 2-step drop and a toss over here to the left.
It's like Madden, where I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay.
In Madden, you'll have all the routes on the play, and they'll all be in yellow, and then one of the routes in particular will be in red, and they do that to say that route is what the play is designed for.
Right.
which means that one's going to more than likely be the open one.
Right.
But you still can throw to the yellow route.
I know.
Like, I almost think, like, and hey, you know, it's funny to bring up Madden, but at the same time, Mike McDaniel is someone my age. He grew up playing this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it almost sounds like he's one of those kids that thinks you can only throw to the red route. And it's like, no, Mike.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
that's the one that's probably going to be open.
Right. No, I know. Now, apparently what they've worked on, and this was the case in that 80-yard touchdown pass to Tyreek, is they've worked on getting to his second or maybe even third read, which I do agree with. Now, I was not the same thing with the bubble screens, those timing slants that we were throwing over the middle last year. Now, on one hand, God, it works. But on the other hand, when it doesn't work, it's going right into the belly of the linebacker. So that's a problem. So I can understand not wanting to do that on being dependent upon those throws. But I don't think we threw one slant at all yesterday. And I think that would be something that could soften up the middle of that defense a little bit, just so that they know, hey, we might still try this shit, you know?
You know what else could have softened up the defense a little bit? A 200-plus pound running back that can run routes and play receiver just the same. And he was inactive, though.
Is he hurt, though? He was on you're talking about Chris Brooks, right?
No, I'm talking about Jalen Wright.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah.
Chris Brooks is bigger. Yeah, Chris Brooks is like 220. But now Jalen's like 205, 208. Right. He's like a mini Debo.
Okay.
That's what I drafted him for. I thought we were going to use him like that. Like, oh, you're a little running back receiver hybrid kind of guy. And
yeah, I got him on my bench too.
He's about an inch or two shorter than Debo, and he's about 10 pounds less than Debo. But yeah, like I totally saw the dimensions and what he was doing. I'm like, oh, you're gonna be our Debo. And never mind, he ain't even playing. Not just because I drafted him, but just because like you're looking at what's going on in the game. And this isn't any disrespect to Braxton Berrios, even though it's going to sound that way. It's just you're in the spot that I want that guy to be in.
Yeah.
But he can't do the stuff that I want Jalen Wright to do. Like, I want Jalen Wright specifically being the one going over the middle, meeting the linebacker. And that would open up so much more stuff because he's fast and he's physical. Right. And we don't have too many of that. We have fast or physical.
We agree there. He's got it backwards. You play Wright and you sit Berrios. And then if Wright can't handle the job or somebody gets hurt, then you bring the veteran Berrios and you're good to go. But you're starting the season off with 2 games at home and you got a short week. Get those young legs out there. Maybe he'll play Thursday. Maybe he'll play Thursday because, you know, like you saw towards the end of the game where Mostert was gassed. I mean, he's almost as old as I am. So I mean, you know, and that's the other thing is we'll talk about the Thursday night game. But now in terms of the defense, I mean, Jalen Phillips looked pretty good out there for a guy coming off of that kind of injury. And the one thing I'll say, and I want to know if I'm the only one, you guys let me know in the comments too. Am I the only one that watches the tackle on almost every play just put their arm around Jalen Phillips and it's just never called? Am I just imagining things? Is it just me?
I hadn't noticed it, but I also wasn't looking for it. The refs should be looking for that. That's the reason why they have multiple referees designed at certain spots. Like, you are looking at just the line. So they're doing the thing that I'm admitting to not doing. So I can't explain why they're not calling it.
Yeah. But he looked good. Obviously, he had the 1 sack. And so that's good. The only one we got to worry about now coming back is Chubb. And, you know, some of the new guys had some plays. Campbell had some plays. It's hard to really judge the secondary because it really felt like we were just going back and forth, zone, man. And when we were in zone, we were given such a cushion. It just doesn't make any sense why we would do that. A team with that's a zone is for a team with bad corners, right? Now,
And
Jalen
we
Ramsey on
just
one
made our
side.
guy the highest paid corner in the league, so it
Right,
shouldn't
right,
be that
right.
way.
We got Jalen on one side, and while Cater may not be the biggest guy on the other side, he stays with his man,
Mhm.
right? I have no problem throwing him out there in man coverage. So I don't know why, you got Poyer and Holland having to come up 8 yards and make tackles because there's a 10-yard cushion on
Mhm.
3rd and 7. It don't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the defense will have. We keep wishfully comparing this team to the Panthers, but I'm hoping that the defense will have a similar effect that the Panthers did this season, where we have a couple guys here because we have a couple guys out, and hopefully, we weather the storm for now. And then when those guys return healthy, Chubb, and then even on the offensive side of the ball with Odell,
Yeah.
hopefully that we'll be really good and really rocking when these guys come back, because it's almost like getting trade deadline acquisitions without making any trades, especially
Yeah.
when it is like players like the guys I just named, Bradley Chubb and Odell Beckham. And that's the other thing with Wright and Barry is they're just trying to do whatever they can for right now until everybody's healthy. But yeah, try every option. Throw
Yeah.
Wright out there on
Well,
Thursday night and
I mean,
see what happens.
you're playing Barrios. You
Mm-hmm.
got Jalen on the bench, inactive. And at the one point, you got Tyreek back there returning a punt. And I'm thinking, are you stupid? What do
Mm-hmm.
you, why? No, just no.
Then
Don't,
Jalen could have been returning the punt too.
right. That's what I mean. It's just, but we'll see what happens Thursdays. You know what I mean? Maybe, maybe he'll get in. So yeah,
Because
let's jump.
I even thought with him being the third running back, he can do a little bit of running, he can do receiving, he can do returns. I thought he was going to still get plenty of touches
Right,
despite being
right.
the third running back, and dude wasn't even active.
No. Now I'll give McDaniel credit. As Mostert and the Chan got worn down a little bit with that heat, you just pop in Jeff Wilson Jr. and he
Mhm.
was fresh and ready to go. So that was good. So I
He
mean,
was doing everything
realistic,
right as far as what he was doing with the guys he had. I just didn't agree with the guys he had in the beginning. It's nothing against Jeff Wilson. It's nothing against Braxton Berrios. It sounds that
right,
way, but
right,
no, I just think that guy's
and
really
well,
good. I think he was drafted for a reason.
not only, we're talking about Barrios, but I mean, Robbie Chosen is out there too instead of him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of like, well, okay, give some reps, right? He's not a
Right.
quarterback. If he's a quarterback, it's like, all right, give him a few weeks before we start him. It's like, get the guy on the field. It don't make any sense. So now let's move to Thursday because we got a short week. And again, I talked about this in my recap yesterday. I don't feel so good about Thursday's game because yeah, both teams played yesterday, but we baked in that sun while Buffalo, wherever they were, it sure as hell wasn't 100 degrees.
Mm-hmm. It's Buffalo, right?
Yeah, that's who we play. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, so they
Yeah.
get their wish. It'll be at night. Yay!
Did you hear them troll us on the broadcast, by the way?
I did not.
They had it was so obvious and so condescending, but they had the lady on the sidelines, they do the sideline reports, and she's talking about how this is the only 1:00 game we have and the heat disadvantage and the shade and all of that. And she's like, surprisingly, the Dolphins don't have any more 1:00 games now until November. And the announcers were like, wow, it's strange how that happens. And I'm like, F you. I'm like, I know what you're doing. It's clear as day what they did. As soon as Buffalo had that complaint, we talked about this. As soon as that day went on and Twitter discovered that the visiting teams in the sun They stopped giving us 1 o'clock games against division opponents in September.
They get a lot of their complaints and requests granted to them. They got the overtime rules in the playoffs changed after they lost to the Chiefs. They got our schedule changed after losing to us in the regular season. It's like, wow, like I wish it worked that way for me.
Well, I suppose it's karma. Because for decades, Don Shula was on the competition committee, and for decades, the Dolphins were the least penalized team. It was an automatic. The Dolphins were the least penalized team in the league.
We're choir boys. That's all it is.
And yeah, that's all it is, right? So we got Buffalo Thursday. Josh Allen had a game, right?
Their offense,
yeah. Their offense looks just fine. And with the quality of what their defense looks like, it looks like they're going to need it.
I don't want to make any like light jokes of DeMar Hamlin or anything like that, but he was a special teams player for a reason. And then now he is their starting safety. And I did not think much of it until I saw that the Cardinals were up 17-0. And my God, their defense is so bad. And they lost more than just that. Like, that's going to be the thing that everyone points to because of what happened to DeMar Hamlin.
Yeah.
And, the jokes were there when they named him the starting safety. You're like, oh, shit, maybe he really is a clone. But it's a problem that he's starting. Like, great that he is, great that he's back, great that he's alive.
Yeah.
For him, great that he's starting. If I was a Bills fan, I'm like, oh, shit. He is starting at safety.
Well, we'll see if McDaniel can draw up some plays to actually take advantage of that, right?
Bubble screen doesn't do that.
What? And what I don't understand, and I bitch about this with the Panthers too, but they don't really have nobody like just once in the McDaniel press conferences. I would this is why they won't ever give me a press pass because I'd be the guy. Mm-hmm. Just once, I'd like somebody in the press to be like, look, Mike, we got to talk. What's what with the bubble screen? Like yesterday we had 8 tackles for losses. Mm-hmm. 8, right?
And 6 of those were on bubble screens and the other 2 were on sweeps.
Right. I mean, I know he'd have some kind of 45-minute I know he'd have an answer, but I would like to hear the answer. Now, of course, he's going to point to the 1 to 2 times a game when it does work and it's, 30, 40, 50 yards, and maybe a touchdown. But the amount of times that kills the drives is incredible. Now, back to Buffalo. Mm-hmm. Patriots beat the Bengals yesterday.
Yeah. So if the Jets win tonight, everyone's 1-0 in the East.
Yeah. That's crazy. I didn't see the highlights, but I mean, I think the Patriots isn't it like Jacoby Brissett?
Yeah, it's all.
Yeah, I used to call him Brisket. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I mean, Drake May is starting Brisket, and for a second there, it looked like they were going to be the only ones in the division that won yesterday.
I know. That's true.
We're both sitting there down 17. I mean, it's worse being down 17 than the Cardinals, but. Yeah, it was looking like, well, goddamn, if the Jets lose tonight, the Patriots would have been by themselves at 1-0 and explain that one, everybody.
I know.
I'm hoping it works out for Mike. One of the reasons why I keep rooting for Mike McDaniel is because his press conferences are just as entertaining as Paul Maurice.
Oh, yeah.
Another similarity that these guys have. And hopefully it's because I can remember back when we had Maurice the first year and we could complain about his stubborn ass and this goddamn dump and chase, and why do we keep doing this stupid dump and chase? And the 1 or 2 times it works, Maurice sits there with his shitty grin going, see, I told you, playoff hockey. He ended up being right, though. Now, the difference is It took 3/4 of a season for Maurice to be proven right. This is year 3 or 4 for Mike McDaniel. He's still trying to prove us right.
So let's extrapolate that, because you're correct, but there's a reason. It didn't take 3 or 4 months for Maurice to be proven right. It took 3 or 4 months for the forwards to figure out, shit, I'm really going to have to work this hard and come back every time the puck is down the ice. So
now, what is that equivalent on the football field?
that's there. Exactly. Words sound like that. What's the equivalent of that? Right? I know what it's not. I know it. I almost forgot about this, and now I got to adjust my seat, because now we're
Let Josh cook.
this son of a bitch, this freaking coach of ours, who needs a haircut, by the way. This son of a bitch literally designed a play on purpose that had Tyreek Hill sealing the edge against the defensive end. Now, we can talk about the bubble screens all day long, but that has got to be one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life. The floor is yours.
So stupid, it just might work.
How? I mean, it's a holding on Tyreek Hill, and then you see the replay, and you're like, he's supposed to block that dude? Are you kidding me? It's like asking a Chihuahua to block a pit bull.
Do you remember it? It wouldn't have been out for you, but you might have remembered it when it was on TV. Do you remember the show Smart Guy?
I remember when it was on, but I wasn't watching it.
It was Tina and Tamara's little brother, and it was about a 10-year-old who was so smart that he was in high school. So anyway, It already sounds like Mike McDaniel. So there's an episode where they're doing the whole man versus machine thing, and he's going against a machine that plays chess. Okay. And he keeps getting his ass kicked against it. And one of the characters on the show, his older brother, who's actually high school age, his brother's best friend, who's played by Omar Gooding, he's the dumb one on the show.
Right.
And as the kid's practicing for it, he's playing Omar Gooding, and Omar Gooding is doing the stupidest moves traditionally in chess. And the first couple, the kid's like, what do you do? What? And it ends up fucking with him so much that he ends up losing. And he goes, wait a minute here. So he ends up doing that against the machine, and it ended up frying the machine. Now, granted, it's a sitcom for kids, but this is exactly what we're talking about here with Daniel. It is so dumb it just might work.
I mean, talk about what did you think was going to happen? You know what I mean? Oh my God.
Tyreek, bro.
Yeah, it's just like, all right. So obviously, Mike is. I think he needs a haircut. Are you agreeing with me on that one? I'm not a fan.
He's definitely looking very Miami nowadays.
That's true.
Very Miami. Very highly up.
Like he's looking like extra on Miami Vice, Miami. You know what I mean? Dude. He's like the cocaine lord that gets killed in the first scene before the dun 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 before the song comes on. Bum 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 bum. Oh yeah, you know. I'm aging myself.
I love the before and after pictures of when he first got here and how he is now. So great.
Yeah, he definitely fits in now. So, all right, so we're 1-0. That's cool. That's it. Hey, it could have been worse. All right, we were a hair away from 24-7 and people leaving the stands. So I will take it. Now we have to do this thing Thursday night. You know, it's the Bills at home. Last time Bills were in Miami, we all know what happened. And so whatever McDaniel, this will be the last thing I'll say. Maybe McDaniel just called a very bland, vanilla game, figuring they can beat the Jaguars, bland and vanilla, and save the real opening day game plan for the Bills.
You know, that sounds like wishful thinking on the surface, but then you remember last year that the very next game after we hung 70 on the Broncos was against the Bills, and it did not quite go the same as the previous game.
Can you
So with
imagine
that
that?
being said, it's entirely possible that that's exactly what we're doing. That could be exactly why Jalen Wright was inactive. That,
Ah,
I mean, now on the other hand, that sounds pretty disrespectful to the Jacksonville Jaguars, but
but
explain
you
it
know
another way.
the part about Jalen Wright, you know, for a rookie, two quick games like that, they're not used to that.
That's true.
Maybe that was
Which game do you want him to
strategy.
play? You probably
Right,
want him to play the second one.
right. Maybe that's the case. Huh. We shall see. All right, Trey, as always, it was a pleasure. Unfortunately, Trey was expecting a knock on the door during this episode, and I was going to play the joke that, oh, it looks like they're there to arrest Trey now, but
Mm-hmm.
nobody knocked, so I didn't get to use my line. That sucks. Trey, any last words?
It might be September, but no air conditioning in Texas is still bad. That's what Jaws is referring to as far as who's going to knock on my door. We're trying to get this AC fixed.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I do apologize. We have a full week here of high of 78, low of 58, and clear blue skies and breezes.
Well, like I said, it's fall here, but it's
Yeah,
fall in Texas. It's a
it's
nice
falling.
86, 87 right now.
I know. I was in basic training in February in Texas.
I actually
Yeah.
liked February when it came around here the first time. It was still
You
pretty
know,
cool.
this is totally off topic, but I'll tell this story for the three people left. Basic training, Texas, February. We all get off the plane. We're doing our thing. We're lined up. A couple mornings later, we're out there, 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was cold. Now this night it was cold, right? And we're standing there, and there's this guy from Hawaii next to me, and he starts freaking out. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. What's wrong? What's happening? I'm going to die. He had never seen his breath before. He had never seen his breath before. And everybody, including the instructors, is just rolling on the floor. We're just dying laughing at this poor kid because he was really deathly. I mean, it was the shriek of death. He
Right.
thought he was dying right there.
Not quite the same reaction that the Jamaican bobsled team had to seeing their breath for the first time.
Right.
Thank God. What you smoking, man?
What you
I'm
smoking,
not
man?
smoking. I'm breathing.
Yep. He'd never left the island, and he'd never I mean, I had never seen snow, right? I was raised in Miami, so that just reminded me of that story. All right, Dolphin fans. Appreciate all the support. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you're new, and we will see you again mañana.